Hari Om.
Good evening and welcome. Nice to be with you all. We'll start this evening a profound reflection upon these beautiful Upanishadic statements with a prayer. Take a moment to relax yourself, a full breath out, a softening of your eyes, a spring or lightness in your cheeks. Let the whole body settle. Giving ourselves permission to let these words of Upanishad work on us. Pick up where we feel confused, lost, hurt, or that anxiety through the form of prayer, the power of prayer. So just listen to the sound of this mantra. Om aham vrikshasya reriva kirti prishtham gireriva urva pavitra vajaniva swamratamasmi dravinagum savarchasam sumedha amrito kshitaha iti trashankurvedanuvachanam. Om aham vrikshasya reriva kirti prishtham gireriva urva pavitra vajaniva swamratamasmi dravinagum savarchasam sumedha amrito kshitaha iti trashankurvedanuvachanam. Om aham vrikshasya reriva kirti prishtham gireriva urva pavitra vajaniva smrtamasmi dravinagum savarchasam sumedham rito kshitaha iti trashankurvedanuvachanam. As I chant this mantra, I'm remembering baby Trashanku, the mysterious rishi who felt the truth of Brahman in his mother's womb. I'm taking a moment to try to imagine and go back. That time when I was also a baby, stripped of all the labels, the pressures from society, the name and status I've gained for myself or the lack thereof, the pressures of my emotion, the facts that have helped me navigate throughout the world, my hurts, habits, hang-ups. And in remembering that child, clasping my mother in utter surrender, aham vrikshasya reriva, that I, shining in the child and shining in this adult, is like the root of the universe, the root of the cosmic tree of this world. Aham vrikshasya reriva. That I, kirti prishtham gireriva, is high like the peak of a mountain, soaring, piercing the clouds. Kirti prishtham gireriva, urva pavitro vajaniva. That I is high and pure, untouched by the tremors, untouched by sin. So amritamasmi, it is nectar, love, the desire to live, the desire to be. Aham vrikshasya reriva, kiti prishtham gireriva, urva pavitro vajaniva smrtamasmi, dravinagum savarchasam. brilliant, golden, sumedha amratokshitaha. I remember baby Trishanku, the rishi who knew this truth, the truth of the child in innocence, and the truth of this adult wending the way through the world, trying to grow into wisdom, and in between so many mistakes. But may we come to know that I, powering this body and mind, and the I resting within your body and mind, the aham as Brahman, pure, untainted, like the vast sky. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saviryan Karavavate
Yasvina
Tejasvinastu Vishavahehi. Om Shanti
Shanti
Shanti Shanti.
Shanti.
Peace be, peace be, peace be. Hari Om. So that childlike innocence and total surrender, that's the perfect state of mind to alight upon this text, which isn't giving us more information, but rather awakening in us that memory of our purity and leading to transformation, harmonizing our relationships and interactions with the world. So I just felt called to share that with us. It's a mantra that comes from that first chapter, that child in you, totally pure, that hasn't lost. It actually can never be lost. So please remember that. And we'll see that more and more again. We're deliberating upon that nature of yourself as pure by removing the labels. And here, what's unique about what we're seeing in Panchakosha Viveka is that the labels are universal across the board. So it's not just a mistake or an error that's on my part as an individual, but it happens to be a human predicament, sometimes known as the theory of estrangement or adhyasam, the feeling of being picked out and isolated in the world and forgetting that we're woven into the fabric of God. So what we're doing right now is Panchakosha Viveka, where through keen discernment with the help of teacher and this Upanishad, we're helping recognize the difference between aham, that root of the universe that baby Trishanku was speaking of, aham, I, and what I have, what is incidental and what is intrinsic to me. And so what we saw last week is we were looking at the level of body, its 6 modifications, the flesh, tendon, bone, the changes it goes through, and the fact that I know that. I don't dismiss that simple truth. It's so simple. It doesn't require rocket science or a higher degree. It requires an open heart and the capacity to take a second look and let that simple truth sink in us, be assimilated. Similarly, we saw that there's different kind of vital winds, our energy levels, the pranic kosha. We saw that I too know this. I too watch its modifications and change and stand apart as something more. And then we started to delve into something more subtle, feeling the shape of the prana, more expansive, and that was the level of the mind, manomaya kosha. Now let's take up where we left off, where the Rishi warns us that the mind, which many mystics deal with and play in, is not the final destination. Mind also is a spanda, a kind of vibration, and you are the source of that. So further our inquiry, increase our tapas, and see the truth of you are as pure behind any kind of modification. So let's chant this particular mantra. It's a nice one to memorize because it not only talks about that emotion not being the final destination, but it also highlights the supreme quality of one who's recognizing their natures deeper, as free from fear. So if you've got that PDF I sent in the WhatsApp, it's on page 30. And if not, no worries, you can just listen to it and try to pick it up. So don't be stressed about that if you don't have the text. You can always private message me too, and I'll send it to you directly. But we've got a good PDF now circulating that's really easy to follow. So it's on page 30 if you saw that. So I'll chant this all together, and then I'll also chant it so that there's some spaces and you can repeat after me. So first, just listen. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan na bibheti kadachaneti tasyesha eva sharira atma yaf purvasya. There's a nice rhythm to that. Beautiful arrangement of Sanskritam. So this is a mantra that's kind of like an outlier in the flow of how the other ones are going. Suddenly the Rishi doesn't really talk about the benefits or connectivity of the mind. The Rishi says, hey, hold up. Keep on inquiring. Keep your reflection going. Let Upanishad open your heart and follow it all the way through. So you can repeat after me. Yeto vacho
Yato vacho
nivartante
ivartante
apraapya manasa saha
abhya apramanasashaha
anandam
anandam
brahmano vidvan
brahmano vidvan
na bibheti
nabhipeki
kadachaneti
katachaneti
tasyesha eva
tasyesha eva
sharira atma
sarira atma
yaf purvasya.
yapurvasya.
Awesome. So this is also part of the practice that's involved in being a student of Upanishad. So at first it seems like we're just dealing with the words of the Sanskrit, but there's a vibration held with that. And our voice becomes a great medium by which we can come back. Using the voice helps us wield our identity as a human being. So it's said that just chanting Upanishad itself is a purification act, even if we don't catch all the meaning. But how nice is it when we can do both? So shariram means container, and shariram means contained. So we saw that the pranamaya kosha is the subtler, more pervasive, and filling the shape of the annamaya, the physical body. But subtler than that pranamaya is the mind, manomaya, which is the field of our emotions. And with emotions comes our memory. Memory is generally organized in two types: a kind of factual memory, which is very helpful for navigating the world and remembering how we participate in shared experience. And then there's also the emotional memory, the memory that's more with those kind of pangs of how the flavors of which we relate to the facts. So it'd be nice if we can have a certain hold, mano nigraha, hold on those emotions and wield them so that they support and flow with our facts and we don't come into fanciful projections. That's the whole purpose of yoga sadhana, taking some time to sit still, relating with others, finding your passion or your dharma, sticking with it even when it gets difficult. All these different kinds of practices help reduce the load of that imaginative quality which we impose upon the different facts that make up our world. So, putting it in one word, objectivity, to just see things clearly as they are, and maybe taking a look before you leap. So, this is the realm of Manomaya Kosha, which is subtler, more pervasive, filling the shape, Purusha Vedaha, of the Pranamaya Kosha. Now, what's said here? Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasasaha. It seems that as the mind, in its excitement and inspiration to reach and try to know the truth, because that's what we're doing in this satsang, we're trying to approach or gather in the name of truth, sat. explore and try to understand the nature of the world, the nature of who I am, the nature of God. Jiva Jagat Nishvara. So in that pursuit, it seems that it may be a little bit sounding depressing at first, but Upanishad says that the mind, when it tries, along with the word, which mostly our mind is made up of word, when you really try to observe, what is mind? It feels like it's just my thinking process. It says when the mind tries to leap and think about this truth, it can't reach. Yato vacho nivartante. Nivartante means it turns back along with the word. Apraapya manasasaha. Along with the mind, word fails to capture the full splendor of this Brahman. Then Upanishad asserts not to worry. Anandam Brahmano Vidvan. You can know this Brahman though. And this Brahman as Anandam, limitlessness. Nabibheti kadachaneti. And what do I have to gain by this? What's the whole point? Upanishad says, Nabibheti kadachaneti. The signature of such a person who's starting to recognize this limitless nature of who they are. You know, that feeling of being free from those labels or free from those conditionings. What they experience is known as nabibheti, no fear. They're fearless rebel. There's someone who can take skillful action, know when to remain silent, know when to jump. So that swing or that kind of intelligence by which you can apply to the different situations in your life. You don't follow the book, but you go with the flow and live a very intelligent life. That's possible when we don't have the pressure or that hemming in of feeling like we have to find our safety, our belonging, our feeling of pride or good standings by the things around us. But we've discovered that within, we have all that strength within us. Within, there's a silent core. Within, there's connectivity. When one discovers that, vidvan, one knows that, nabibheti kadachaneti. They are free from that constraint of fear. That's a beautiful indicator of what it's like to live as a Brahmavid, knower of Brahman. Tasyesha eva sharira atma yafpurvasya. This shariram, this container, is the manomaya kosha. Of the former was the pranamaya kosha. Now we're looking into even deeper level. Let us continue and see. So this is the next mantra. I'll chant the whole thing in full, and then I'll also allow us to chant together. So now we're coming to a deeper, more pervasive, indwelling container or indwelling sheath, kosha. Why is it called a kosha or sheath? Can you really sheath the Brahman, the light of awareness that you are? No, not possible. But as a human being, we can mistake who we are as that anandam, that limitless, fearless nature. We can mistake it for what's immediately in our perception, which is the body, mind, and ego. So here is a very subtle dimension of our personality called Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya means the cognitive or intellectual self. That part or dimension of us that is an experiencer and also an agent of action. So Upanishad has some very profound things to say with reference to that. And let's see what it is. Tasmadva etasma atmano mayat anyontara atma vijnanamaya te naisha purnaha sava esha purusha vida eva tasya purusha vidatam anvayam purusha vidaha tasya shraddeva shiraha vritam dakshinav pakshaha satyam uttarav pakshaha yoga atma mahapucham pratishtha tadapyesha sloko bhavati. Okay, now you can chant after me. Tasmadva
Tasmadva
etasmaat
etasmaat
manomayat
Manomaya
Anyontara
Anyuntara
Atma
Atma
Vijnanamayaha
Vijnanamaya
Tainesha Purnaha
Tenaisha Purnaha
Sava Esha
Savaisha
Purusha Vidaha.
Purusha Vidaha
Excuse me. Purusha Vida Eva
Purusha Vidaha Eva
Tasya
Tasya
Purusha Vidatam
Purusha Vidatam
Anvayam
Anvayam
Purusha Vidaha
Purusha Vidaha
Tasya
Tasya
Shraddheva Shiraha
Shad Shraddheva Shiraha
Ritam
Ritam
Dakshinav Pakshaha
Dakshina Pakshaha
Satyam
Satyam
Uttara Pakshaha
Uttara Pakshaha
Yoga Atma
Yoga Atma
Maha
Maha
Ucham Pratishtha
Ucham Pratishta
Tadapyesha Sloko Bhavati.
Tadatisha Sloka Bhavati.
So that last statement, I was highlighting that last week, which I find to be quite inspiring and also humbling. Tadapyesha sloko bhavati. The whole way through this Upanishad, they're quoting their ancestors, meaning this was passed down. So they're plugging in and owning it, but letting the source or the lineage flow through them. So it's kind of like a pass through or a able vessel by which this teaching, maybe back to Lord Shiva himself, flows through the rishi. And do they take agency? Yes. Do they express their ego? Yes. But their ego is entwined back through their teacher and the succession of teachers. I find that to be so wonderful. And also, it removes this heavy weight of total ownership where we unplug and take one to be ourselves and then become a martyr and feel like without me, nothing can work. So I'm a part of a huge ecosystem beyond my even comprehension. That ecosystem is called Ishvara. And the expression of Ishvara or intelligence in a microcosmic form is called Vijnanamaya. Let's see what it says. Anya antaraha, we saw that it was other than and more inner, this particular sheath. And it's called Vijnanamaya. It's made up of intelligence, the cognitive self. It also takes the form of the person. I love that. Upanishad's not afraid to say body, mind, and ego are seamlessly connected. So that's so important for us as meditators. When I hold my body still, I'm deeply affecting my mind. And vice versa. When I have an open state of mind, my body will be deeply nourished. So there's a seamlessness between those. We don't create such large cracks or gaps there. And that means there's plenty of opportunity to invoke our best health along the way. So great statement. Purusha Vidaha in the form of the Purusha. Now, what else? This also, like the former, is depicted as a bird, a light, free, flying bird. So sometime we may just need to have a meditation like that, closing your eyes and imagining you flying free. Some of you may be having dreams like that in a state of a relaxed mind or conducive atmosphere, maybe on vacation when you take a dream. You're just flying through the space. So sage potentially says that's good. You can meditate on that. Meditate on yourself moving through the space like that. That can be very refreshing. So what is this bird made of? Of course, a head, two wings, a belly, and a tail. The head of Vijnanamaya, meaning the top portion of our intelligence, is called Shraddha, faith. Faith is that capacity for the mind to find affinity in a higher reality and leap before having the direct experience. That kind of trustful feeling that at the break of dawn, I haven't seen the sun yet, but I'm singing my song, knowing that it will rise. That's called faith. So faith can be questioned, And faith can involve dialogue and inclusion, whereas belief a lot of times is exclusive and doesn't allow for much room to be challenged. So faith, the head. Ridam dakshina pakshaha. The right wing of this mind, or the Vijnanamaya, is called rhythm. Rhythm means the order. I'll come to that in a bit. The left wing is satyam, truth. Yoga atma, and the heart is yoga, discipline. Wow. Mahaha pucham pratishtha. And what is this support or tail of the Vijnanamaya, our deepest seat of the mind? He says at the root of this, or the tail of it, is Mahaha. Mahaha can mean the great. And what he's indicating there is Ishvara. Or for us Vedantans, Saguna Brahman. The Brahman expressed as form. The form of the totality. What does Ishvara mean? Ishvara means that I have an individual body, but I'm a part of an ecosystem of other bodies. The sum total of all bodies is Virat, a form of Ishvara. Similarly, I have some mind, some emotional profile, and a way to touch with this world outside of me, a bigger body, and I process that. But I'm not the only one who does that. I'm also operating in a sea of minds, from a small insect to a larger mammal. And that is called Hiranyagarbha, the field of all minds combined. Think about that. That makes my eyes kind of well up and my hair reach out. Everything wants to lift up. So Hiranyagarbha, the golden womb, meaning the sea of all minds. Similarly, where are we all going? To a field of unawares, the resting place where we get supreme rest, sleep, avidya, not knowing. We all go there, all creatures, all beings. That's called Ishvara, the sum of all the blanket, the cosmic blanket of sleep. So our mind is rooted in that whole cosmos. That's what's being said here. So that's quite profound. The way it expresses, though, when one comes to have a touch with this subtle dimension of who they are, I would say they become an organized, confident, and centered person. Vijnanamaya is the level of being not only an experiencer, but one who takes action based upon organizing principle. What is an organizing principle? What is it that you really want to express in the world? What is it that you care about? What action do you feel like will contribute to a more creative, flourishing ecosystem? That self-giving desire expresses through this field called Vijnanamaya. And when one is in touch with that, Upanishad says they are in order. They recognize that there's a certain order or rhythm to the way that the world is set up. How do you experience that personally? You feel that even in a bad thought, even in a stressful or worrisome thought, you feel that this has a cause and it's not out of place. I'm not messed up. My mind is not a problem, because you feel that your mind is showing or presenting something to you. There must be a cause behind this, and I have trustful surrender with reference to that. So I'm going to let it arise. Tend to it if necessary. Let it go. That's called rhythm. And when you do that, you'll flow with life. You won't get hung up. And as a result of that, you're willing to face your inner demons and hold them in a space, not rejecting them or being consumed by them, but smiling and being able to relate with them and see how that demon can end up being your greatest service to humanity. That demon that you developed as a child as a necessity when it got pushed into the unconscious can be your greatest healing tool. You can share that with the world and convert that energy into a positive, hopeful message. So the left wing is satyam. I feel at ease and truthful with what is. I can see my dark side face to face. I can look at it with a soft disposition and transform that energy into a positive light expression, satyam. And how is that done? One, because I have the faith in a higher reality, but two is because I commit to a life of discipline. Yoga Atma, the heart of Vijnanamaya is discipline, yoga. And all of this is made possible because our mind is an extension of the Ishvara. It's like making a model. You make a cosmic template, and then you can make small models from that template, like in a factory or something. So the main model is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. From that triangle, you can spin out all sorts of shapes. You just add a little prana to it, then it becomes a circle. Our mind. Put a little dot in the center. That's what the yogis see in Yoni Mudra. You look inside, you see a circle of light. That light is the mind. It's nothing but Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas revolving through prana. So Upanishad says when you're connected in such a way, when you feel like, whoa, everything's set up. I came as that innocent child in full trustful surrender. There was no option but to be surrendering. And in that state, the whole setup, the world to experience, the senses that allow for that experience to take place, the mind that can touch it, the intellect which can assume its different forms and also decide and act and string the numberless sequence of time into past, present, future, the whole thing is given in one swoop. Such a person who feels that given or giver, Ishvara, it says that their life becomes yajna. It becomes a kind of altruistic effort to promote the public good. Their actions as a doer and enjoyer are in the spirit of yajna. The devas, the sense organs, or the cosmic patrons, Upanishad Rishi says, they all worship the Vijnanamaya as the core principle that organizes. Brahma Jeshtam Upasate, that's to come in a bit. I'll come to that. And as a result, when one entwines with or realizes this nature of their being, Papmanohitva, they free themselves from all feeling of being out of order. Papa means sin in Sanskrit. Sin just means off the mark or stepping out of the alignment. So let's see that. This is the next mantra. This is on page 32 in the PDF. So I'll chant it first. Vijnanam yajnam tanute karmani tanute picha Vijnanam deva sarvehe brahma cheshtamupasate Vijnanam brahma chedveda tasmachena pramadyate sharire papmano hitva sarvan kaman samashnuta ite. So you can repeat after me if you'd like. Vijnanam
Vijnanam
yajnam tanute
yagyam tanute
karmani
karmani
tanute picha
tanute picha
Vijnanam
Vijnanam
deva sarve
deva sarve
brahma jeshtham
brahmachaitam
upasate
upasate
Vijnanam
Vijnanam
brahma chedveda
brahmachedveda
tasmachena
tasmachena
pramadyate
pramadyati
sharire
sharire
papmano hitva
papmano hitva
sarvan kaman
sarvan kaman
samashnuta iti.
samasnuta iti.
Sharire papmano hitva. All karmas are done with his body. And the the person of steady wisdom who is relating to this deeper dimension of who they are as an integrated person, meaning that my mind is essentially actually Ishvara. One who starts to reflect upon this. What happens? Shirire papmano hitva. The commissions that I did. Why did I do this? Omission. I never got to tell them I'm sorry. Why did I not do it? The mistake, the lack thereof, that pang in our heart from the way that we've governed our lives for safety, belonging, good standings, and fell out of alignment of acting according to our censoring principle. When one comes to recognize this deep dimension of themselves, all those sins, all those troubles and frustrations as a result of acting in this world with this body, shariram, papmano hitva, they abandon those. It seems that they're free from that load, free from that heaviness of those actions. Sarvan kaman samashnita iti. Upanishad also brings a pretty high claim. They, sarvan kaman samashnita iti, they attain all their desire. How is that? So maybe it's because their desire is starting to be assimilated as the desire for integration, desire for peace, desire for joy. And at this stage, the yogi is starting to recognize, I am integrated. At the base of my mind, there's a quiet bubbling up of joy. Therefore, desires start to melt off in that fire of Brahman. And what arises is the reassembly of the universe of desire for creativity, desire for sharing. So don't think that desire is getting effaced. I'm not sure if it's even possible to live without desire. So I feel like it's quite tragic when some teachers try to strip desire from the human being. How do you live? Please tell me. I have no idea how that's possible. Desire is at the very core of creation. But most of our desires for self-aggrandizement, hoarding and identifying with everything that we weave around ourselves. But Upanishad presents a very profound way of wielding desire, which is to tap into that core and express the desire to share. And wow, that's so fulfilling because it's like an unending cycle of joy, giving and then feeling received in that giving. So maybe that's what it means. Sarvan kaman samashnuta iti vijnanam. So this is the level of vijnanam. But that cognition, that agent, is also subject to change, also subject to time and placement. Though it's a part of a larger continuum, though it's an extension of the creation, there's a time and there's a place where there's no agent, like in the case of deep sleep or the cosmic dissolution. And also, too, our sense of agency changes, of course, with the development of our mind and the different roles that we take up, whether it be teacher or student or father, son. I assume that role depending upon the context, but I'm not always that role. So there's a deeper level of who we are than just intelligence and just the altruistic action that we take. And what is that? Now we're coming to the very base of our being. So let's continue. We'll take up the next mantra. This is on page 33. So if you've got the PDF, you can follow here. It's a little bit longer, so I ask for your patience. And just listen first, I'll repeat it together. Tasyesha eva sharira atma yef purvasya tasmad va tasmad vijnanamayat anyantara atmanandamayaha te naisha purnaha sava esha purusha vidha eva tasya purusha vidhatam anvayam purusha vidaha tasya priyameva shiraha bodho dakshinav pakshaha pramoda uttarav pakshaha ananda atma brahmapucham pratishtha tadapyesha sloko bhavati. Okay, now I'll invite you to chant with me. Tasyesha eva
yasyesha Yasyesha
eva
eva
sharira atma
sharira atma
yaf purvasya
yah
Yat
purvasya
tasmadva
tasmadva
etasmad
etasmat
vijnanamayat
vijnanamayat
anyontara
anyuttara
atmanandamayah
atmanandamayah
tenaisha purnaha
tenaisha purnaha
sava esha
sava esha
purusha vedata or purusha veda eva
purusha vida eva
tasya purusha vedatam
tasya purusha vidyatam
anvayam purusha vedaha
anvayam purusha vidaha
tasya priyameva shiraha
tasya priyameva shiraha
modo dakshina pakshaha
modo dakshina pakshana
pramoda uttara pakshaha
pramada uttara pakshaha
ananda atma
ananda atma
brahma pucham pratishtha
brahma pucham pratishtha
tadapyesha sloko bhavati.
tadapesha loko bhavati.
How is it feeling over there?
Good.
Just a mumble jumble of
Kind of.
words.
No. It's an understanding of it.
Yeah, true. That's the spirit. So I'm really happy that we're chanting it together. It feels good to go back and forth and listen to the sound of Sanskrit. So now we're reaching the final field of mithya. The intelligence resolves, or at its base is mystery, myth. How is that? Is it there? Yes, I experience it. What is it? I don't know. It disappears from me. That's called mithya. It's neither here or not there. It's somewhere in between. And this is very unique to the Vedic tradition or the Advaita Vedanta of showing us there's a level or a field of potentiality which the very heart of creation uses to express, and that is avidya, ignorance. Most of the time when we hear that word, it has an unsavory flavor to it, because if we've ever been called that in our life, we can't stand being ignorant. It feels like it's a kind of criticism or a harsh comment of being ignorance. But here we're talking about a cosmic ignorance, that not knowing or a blanket of darkness is the perfect and prime space for imposing or creating without ever being affected. Magic. So at the base of the mind or the intelligence, Vijnanamaya Kosha, subtler, more pervasive, inner, filling this previous sheath is what is known as Anandamaya Kosha. We know this word, Anandamaya, Anandam. That's interesting. Our ground is joy. Here, what the Rishi is talking about is a field of ignorance, a field of when the mind is resolved, the light of who you are is experienced in various degrees. This too also has limbs, meaning it's a shariram, it's a container, but it's the very finest essence of matter by which the truth, consciousness that you are can reflect. So here I would call this, without getting too emotional, a magic mirror. The capacity to capture the infinite and reduce it into finite. And it's experienced as I. When I is fully resolved, when I'm at peace, whether it's through a laughter with a good friend, or complete satiation, or embrace of a loved one, I experience a state where there's no vikalpa, There's no agitation or movement in the mind. Mind is still and quiet and balanced. The world is still there. Everything's still there, set up. But my interpretation of it has completely released. And in such states, we experience anandam, indescribable well of peace. But why is it a shariram, or why is it a sheath, kosha? Because in such experiences that I thought that it was the time, place, or person which created that happiness in me. And Upanishad wants to show us, no, that was your own heart, who you are, shining into the mind. That's why Anandamaya Kosha. So let's see, what is it made of? What is the bird of this deep root of the mind? Priyame Vashiraha. The head of this bird is a unique mental state called priyam. What does priyam mean? Priyam means the state of mind where there's a potentiality or the feeling of gaining pleasure. That feeling, that soft little thought in the back recesses of our mind. When I do this, it's going to bring me happiness. Priyam. You have to really think about this. Think about your life and what's governing or wending, what guides you to your next action. Why are you choosing what you're choosing? There's a subtle feeling back there. I yelled for the sake of. I ate for the sake of. I went here, or I did this or that for the sake of. Priyam is that touch or that anticipation that I'll experience happiness or a greater resolve in this particular action. It's very, very subtle. Priyam. Modo dakshina pakshaha. The right wing of this bird is called moda. Moda is the feeling of coming closer to that desire. So I have that soft little, tickling the back of my head. Ooh, what if I did this? What joy would that bring? So then you start planning, organizing your life, thinking about it. Vijnanamaya comes in. I start aligning my actions. Then I bring my emotions to be like that lubricant or that extra force to guide my intellect. My senses start to come into play, my speech. Oh, yeah, I am going to book the ticket. Yeah, I will come see you. So you're coming closer to your desired end. And that's called moda. And in that, a greater degree of the happiness radiates. You feel, oh, this is really possible. I can go see them, or I can do this thing. You're making your way closer. Pramoda uttara pakshaha. The left wing is what's known as pramoda. Pramoda is when you are nearing or not already embraced that object of desire. You're so close. You finally landed. You're waiting at the airport. You get the text message. I see you. And then you're looking around. Do you know that feeling? Oh my goodness, it's almost unbearable. You know, you've been waiting a whole year to see this person that you love so dearly, and then you see them standing there. And they're unmissable because they're in their ochre robes. Swamiji! And then you just can't help but cry, but you're supposed to keep it together as a brahmachari. Then you just can't help but run, but then you're trying to keep your cool. And then that moment when you grab their luggage, it's almost as if you're embracing them with a big hug. And then pramoda. There's nothing but ananda radiating for your heart. So priya moda pramoda, you've met with that person of desire. And as a result, ananda atma, the heart opens. You feel that bliss radiating through and it almost takes your breath away. Sometimes we use that expression because it's so true. Whoa. And then your teacher says, just breathe. Take a deep breath. The only thing is we miss the fact that at the base of this, Brahmapucham Pratishtha, we forget that underneath that experience of imagining, coming closer, and reaching our desire, we forgot that underneath the whole thing is the joy that I am, Brahman. Brahmapucham Pratishtha, the Nirguna Brahman, the formless awareness that you are, is the very joy by which our mind can touch or caress those degrees of bliss. So, priyam, I sight the desired object. Moda, I am starting to enjoy that. Pramoda, I'm fully involved. But may we know that the root of this and the root of all creatures, Brahma Pucham Pratishtha, its base is the Brahman that you are, the truth. So that's our meditation. Where did I spring up from? What is sustaining my life? Where am I going back? That's a meditation Upanishad brings. From which presence does everything arise? In what presence are things sustained? And by which it will withdraw back and come to rest. So us as Advaita Vedantins ultimately feel our ishtam, our conviction is it's from love we come. By love we're sustained. And unto love we go back. Love, love, love. There's nothing but love. And that love is so powerful to hold the opposites of truth and untruth, of high and low, good and bad. There's nothing excluded in that, which is the meaning of love. Love is what holds everything together. Love is what binds things. And love includes everything. So it's from love that child was born, that baby, in innocence. It's by love that that man is sustained. And it's unto love I go back. Love, love, love. Shantihi, shantihi, shantihi. So that is the truth. There's nothing but love. There's no world. There's no embodied self. There's no God. There's just love. Love, love. So let us just close our eyes for a moment with just the few minutes we have left. And we'll just take a moment to take that in. And come to appreciate that not only appeals to our heart, but isn't in any contradiction with our intellect. And also seems to be manifesting good feedback when we express love in the world. And not only that, but the Shruti says it. Shruti Yukti Anubhavam. Adi Shankaracharya gave 3 tests for full enlightenment. Shruti, I take the time-tested wisdom expounded from my teacher that says you are love. Yukti, my intellect doesn't have any disagreement with that. In fact, it's in harmony with my thinking process. And anubhavam, and I feel that truth radiating in me, experientially. It's from love we come, by love we're sustained, and unto love we go back. So just take the next moment to remain with the eyes closed, body relaxed, and visualize yourself as that child. Visualize yourself in total abandon. No choice but to trust the universe. Visualize yourself as pure. Free of stress, worry. Your only relationship is with the God in the form of mother. Om Aham vrikshasya reriva kirti prishtham gireriva urva pavitro vajaniva sumratamasmi dravinagum savarchasam sumedham mritokshitaha iti trashankurvedanuvachanam. Om aham vrikshasya reriva kirti prishtham gireriva urva pavitro vajaniva sumratamasmi dravinagum savarchasam sumedham mritokshitaha iti trashankurvedanuvachanam. Om aham vrikshasya reriva kirti prishtham gireriva urva pavitro vajaniva smrtamasmi dravinagum savarchasam sumedham mritokshitaha iti trashankurvedanuvachanam. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om
Om
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Om. To all those gurus, from Swami Bodhananda back to Sadashiva, the first teacher, were brave enough to discover this love within themselves, I bow. Hari Om.